gone through all the essential parts, like what is the IPS, IP address, what is hosting, what is HTTPS, what's the domain name. The final thing that we kind of want to understand before we jump into making our first code files, right, is something that we are all familiar with. In fact, you are using one right now, is a web browser, right? So something called a browser. Now, how does a browser exactly work, right? So a browser has, or how does a browser exactly function, is that it works with something called a browser engine, right? Which basically means how it works with the user in terms of maintaining data or showing that data, because different browsers work in different ways. And then all of them have this one thing called rendering engine. So rendering engine takes care of how the data is being showed to you. Alright, now these could be of different types. So one of them is called Gecko, one of them is WebKit, one of them is Blink. Now there could be other ones as well, but these are the ones that I studied upon, right? So Gecko is the one that runs on top of Mozilla Firefox, very popular web browser, kind of prioritizes open source development. WebKit is something that is more relevant to how Apple devices work, so Safari web browser. Blink is the one that runs my current browser here, which is Chrome, right? Now, all of these rendering engines have three different components. One is UI, basically it shows how the data will be showed to you. So for instance, if you look at a Chrome browser, it's very different from an Opera browser. That's very different from a Mozilla browser, right? For example, in Chrome you have all the tabs at the top, and bookmarks are saved uh, on your new tabs. But in an Opera browser there is a vertical tab system, and there is also a sidebar that you can reach out to, right? There are different kinds of settings available and all of that. So basically how the browser itself looks, right? Then all of these have something called a JavaScript interpreter. So basically this is the one that runs the code on the website and tells how the website will show when user reacts to something. For example, if I am pointing at a particular element on a browser, for example, if I point at this color, right, you see it pops up for a bit. So this is done by JavaScript, and the JavaScript interpreter on the browser tells the browser what to do with the JavaScript code, right? And the final one uh, wow, is the networking component. So what this does is it fetches all the files, it goes to the IP address, it fetches all the files in that server, the HTML, CSS and JavaScript files, to show it on the browser window. So these are the three components that kind of govern how a browser will show you the information to the final user. So what essentially is a browser? A browser is like a software package or an app that takes information from a web server and shows it to you in the intended manner. And how it shows on a browser is the job of a front-end developer, right? So front-end developers and back-end developers who take care of all the code that should be fetched when a browser goes to a web server and fetches all the files, right? Now there are different kinds of browsers. There's of course your mobile browsers, like where you have Chrome, Mozilla, Safari, and all of that. For Mac devices, there's Safari, obviously, and other browsers. For Android devices, there's Chrome, there's Mozilla, there's Opera. Uh, I think there's a Chinese version called the UC browser. And obviously, when you go to desktops, you also have Chrome, you have Mozilla, you have your Opera GX for gaming and all of that, right? So yeah, this is how browsers function. So in the next video, hopefully we are going to start our final coding sessions, where I'll start with HTML, and uh, we are going to start with the HTML roadmap in particular. So see you in the next video.